Hi guys, welcome to the weekly AMA with myself, Kevin Marco, CEO of CoinMetro. I'm going to just put this out there before I start. I'm a little bit jet lagged, so the vocabulary might be at like 50% of what it normally is, so please excuse me if I can't find words and sound like a little bit of a moron throughout most of this conversation today. So I'm just going to wait as usual and look for sound check, mic check from anyone out there that might be looking on Facebook or YouTube. We're back on YouTube this week, where we should be. So please, mic check, guys, if you guys can hear me, or if you just see me moving my mouth and there's no words coming out of no sound coming out of your speakers, go ahead and hit me up on one of these so that I know that I need to make some adjustments. Okay, got a good mic check from YouTube. Just checking to see if we're on Facebook here. Give me a second, guys. Don't see Facebook chiming in, so I'm just going to take a quick check here. It's my daughter. Billy took it upstairs. Sorry, guys. Just give me a second here to adjust our Facebook settings. All right, we should be good. Hopefully our Facebook viewers can see us. Yep, David, we're back on YouTube again. Anybody can anybody see us on Facebook, by the way? Just on my side, I see it as saying the video will start soon, but I don't see any video. Give me a second. Let's see here. Maybe there's a trick that I missed here. Let's see. Yep, no FB stream. That's what I'm seeing, guys. Just give me a moment here as I try to fix this. Sorry for the delay, guys. I just want to make sure that this is set up correctly. Give me a moment, a couple more moments here. All right, guys, I'm going to be back in 2 minutes. I'm just going to put you guys back on a waiting screen as I get Facebook authorized. I'll be right back. Okay, guys, I think I solved this. Let's see. I don't see video yet on Facebook, but I do see the one comment that's been made there by Gerardo, which says hello. So I think we're good. Um, Odd though that we can't see video yet. Anybody on the FB side, Facebook side, seeing video? Please let me know. Nope. Okay, so not seeing video. Slightly odd, to be honest with you guys. Yeah, no video or sound. All right, let's check. going to try one more thing, guys, and if not, I'm going to move forward without Facebook. So if that happens, I'll ask one of you guys to make a post real quick on Facebook just saying that we're going to be on YouTube, and then we'll move on from there. But I'm hoping that we can get this to work. Let's see. Still listening. We have audio, but let's see. Seems like this thing needs to be updated. Let's see. Gotta be. Yeah. It's weird. No idea. Okay, guys, so we're just going to go ahead and use YouTube this week so we don't mess around here and waste any more time. So made a post real quick to let these guys know that they should go to YouTube. I'm going to wait 2 minutes and then we'll start. Apologize for this, guys, but yeah, I told you I was jet lagged. I wasn't lying. It's been a long last 24 hours. And so not sure why I can't seem to figure out what's going on here, but for some reason, I think XSplit, what we use to actually do these, might need to be updated because we're getting a few errors about data that's being parsed between Facebook and XSplit about it not being compatible. So I think we might be missing an update or two, but I'll be sure to get this figured out for next week. Yep, Jesus Kevin is on the wall. That's for sure. Just waiting for people to filter over here from Facebook. Sorry, guys, for the delay. It's going to be a good AMA, though, so please stay tuned. We got some fiery questions on Reddit, so I'm sure you guys will be interested to hear some of the answers on those. A little bit of, yeah, I guess I would say interesting questions. I guess it's the more democratic way to put it. So I'm going to try, let's see. I'm going to try to go one more time here and get this up and running while I wait for things to be shared. Because I haven't, it's really bugging me that it's not working. I don't really get why it's not working, because it should be. Hi, Anton. We're just kind of in pause here while we wait. While we wait to see if we can get Facebook working for everybody. So just bear with us. Hi, Kevin. It's always cool when somebody else shares your name. Can get a little confusing sometimes. Let's see. All right, we're going to give one last shot here to Facebook, see if it wants to work for me today. If not, I'm just going to say screw it. So let's see if we can get this thing to work here. I can just hear the FUD. You know, these guys can't even get get Facebook Live to work. How are they going to run an exchange? Almost, guys. Last ditch effort is upon us. Just waiting for Facebook to load again for me to see if we can actually get live here. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's me, but Facebook is definitely not liking me today for some reason. So anyway, I have it set to possibly go live in like I don't know how many minutes here. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Hopefully, most people are now on YouTube anyway. I'll go ahead and leave this open on the Facebook side just in case we get lucky. And it starts to work at some point today. Okay, so as I said at the beginning, anyway, guys, welcome to the AMA this week. I'm Kevin Mirko, CEO of CoinMetro. As usual on Friday at 5 p.m. Estonia time, well, 5:19 this week. I'm going to go ahead and jump right into our normal schedule. So I'm going to go over some news of the week. I'm going to get into some Reddit questions, and then we'll do some Ask Me Anything over YouTube, it appears, maybe as well over Facebook. We'll see if that actually ends up working out here once in the next 10 or 15 minutes. So let me go ahead and kick everybody off with the first news story of the week. Up to 2/3 of Bitcoin transactions have no economic value. I guess this comes as a surprise to people who don't really know much about Bitcoin, or maybe just know that it's cryptocurrency and has a blockchain. But this really isn't that much of a surprise. Really, with you have to think of it that blockchain is basically like the internet. You ask anybody, if you ask somebody, do you use the internet? They say yes. You ask them, do you know how the internet works? They're going to have no idea. Most people will not be able to explain to you why when they type in facebook.com, they see Facebook. But they will use the internet every day and they'll use it for multiple tasks. So blockchain is basically like the internet. It's a protocol. It's an open protocol. And on top of the blockchain, there's apps. And one of those apps is called Bitcoin. Bitcoin isn't just used to move money. It's also used, obviously, for other things. You can move messages. You can move data. You can move all sorts of things. It's actually what the money is it's data. Mining transactions, mixers, all these types of things that basically splice data between different nodes, obviously aren't really there moving monetary sums back and forth. They're just moving data. So I would say it's not big. That's not a big piece of news in my eyes. I think it is not big, but I think it would be something where most people were probably confused and they read that and said, "Oh, the people that are like, let's say, already negative on crypto are like, oh yeah, I told you this is a fraud or a whatever, and eventually it's just going to stop. This is nonsense, blah 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 blah." But that's because they don't understand what it is. That's like saying 2/3 of internet traffic have nothing to do with email. Because most people, when they first started using the internet, the only thing they knew it could do was chat rooms and email. If you told them at that time that 90% of the internet volume had nothing to do with chat rooms or email, they probably would have thought around the same lines. Number 2 on my list, SEC's new crypto czar wants the coin industry to step out of the shadows. Great, applause. This is something we've been trying to do since the get-go. A lot of the guys, a lot of the CoinMetro haters right now that talk about roadmaps and missing dates and GUIs and what have you, don't understand that the next step, those who can take the next step in this business need to take a mature step forward. Baby steps that have been taken so far by companies, even large companies, baby steps meaning that they have a working, a working mechanism for fiat or crypto exchange, that they have some clients that they're working. Those are baby steps. The next mature steps that need to be taken are dealing with regulators and banks. So the fact that SEC wants to talk to crypto companies is good and bad news. Bad news because there's a lot of, excuse my French, idiots. That's probably not French, but I would have put a French accent on it. But you know, point is that there's a lot of people out there that I hope the SEC doesn't talk to. Unfortunately, they probably will. So it's maybe bad news on that front, but it's good news that regulators, historically haven't been that approachable. They've been becoming more approachable for one specific reason, in that these new technologies and new monetary instruments and new types of assets that are emerging are coming out so fast that they have absolutely no time to devour and understand this information. They need help. So it's good news. I just hope they reach out to the right people. I know we've been reaching out to them, maybe not the SEC so much up to this point, but definitely regulators around the world, and we'll continue to do so. And it's a hugely important piece of the business, hugely important. Like our friend Donald Trump, it's huge. It's huge. So we're going to continue to do it, and I hope others do it as well. Number 3, crypto startup Coinbase hires Pershing's head of compliance. That took a long time. Again, Coinbase is definitely one of the better actors out there in this space that we're also in. The fact that they're hiring compliance professionals makes sense. They're definitely going to need them. When a regulator looks at a company that they don't understand, the first thing they want to look at is structure. If they can trust the structure, like, oh, this guy was at JP Morgan, oh, this guy was at Pershing's, oh, this guy was at PwC, oh, this guy was at KPMG, whatever. If they can trust what's behind it, they inadvertently trust more what the company is doing, because they believe that those good actors, quote unquote, that they're familiar with would probably not get involved in something that wasn't on the up and up. So, nice round of applause for Coinbase. And again, this really isn't news. It shouldn't be news. I mean, you wouldn't hear JP Morgan hired compliance director from PwC. Nobody cares. The fact that this makes the news is because it usually doesn't happen, which is worrying. This really shouldn't be news at all. Like, we shouldn't care at all that they hired a new compliance director and the guy has some experience. Like, wow. It would be much more news if they hired somebody with no experience, like Coinbase hires bike mechanic from middle of Missouri County to be their new compliance director. That would be news. I don't really think this is news, but it's only news because not everybody's doing it, which is completely ridiculous in my mind. But I think that trend is going to change rather quickly. Number 4, San Francisco firm launches cryptocurrency exchange with XRP as base currency. That's DCEX, D-C-E-X. I think the writers of this article missed the point. There can be multiple base currencies on a platform. We as well will have XRP as a base currency, as well as we will have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Euro, US dollar, etc. as base currencies. Not much to be said here. I know XRP has been fishing for exchanges to list them as base currencies to pretty much get the usage of XRP spiking a bit more than it currently is. So obviously this San Francisco firm decided to go all out with XRP. I think probably down the road that's going to change because you can't really have one base. That's kind of like going to, I don't know, Amazon and only being able to pay in US dollars. That's great for a percentage of the population, but it's not great for people who live in Europe, the UK, Australia, Japan, etc. So if you deal in XRP, having it as a base is great. If you don't, it sucks. So I think this might be a little bit of a PR stunt. I think it's good. XRP as a base makes sense. They have a lot of liquidity. But I don't know if you can survive only on XRP. Maybe they can. We'll see. It's a little bit of an experiment. Number 5, 88% of crypto exchanges want industry regulation. New study reveals. So that study was actually done by Mr. Tango, who's a payment service provider that we use as well, based in Lithuania, that provides payment and let's say quasi bank accounts to crypto companies. So I would say this is probably skewed and quite heavily. Why? Well, let's put it this way. If your bank asks you, do you like regulation? There is no way on God's green earth you're going to say no. No, I hate regulation, because you know your bank account would be closed the next day. So considering that, I think it should have been 100%, but I guess 8 out of 10 people that have a Mr. Tango account said, oh yeah, regulation's awesome. I'm not sure they truly believe that. And we can look at real numbers, meaning exchanges that are actually going after regulation, talking about regulation, getting involved in regulation. It's way lower than 88%. So I guess I take that one with a bit of a grain of salt. I wish it was true, but I don't think it is. Number 6, Coinbase adds British pounds for UK crypto users. Well, they got a Barclays account when they got their EMI license approved some time ago. So what took so long, Coinbase? Not so much news here. I think it's good that these things hit the wires, because people that aren't familiar with crypto or have been sitting on the sidelines saying, I don't know, whatever nonsense of whatever mistruth they read in some ridiculous story and are waiting for some type of, I don't know, green light. This might be their green light. So great. And good for Coinbase that they're expanding their fiat base. I hope they keep expanding, because that's what we're going to be doing. And the more they expand, the more precedent we have to expand with banks and regulators. So good going on Coinbase on that one. And number 8, Mr. Gox's creditors are preparing to claim for Bitcoin repayments. So long time coming here. Mt. Gox has something like 166,000 Bitcoin still in its possession. It's about time they start making some repayments. I feel bad for those guys that thought they were going to get a repayment at Bitcoin at 20, and now it's back down to under 7 USD. But much better than where it was when they actually bought into Mt. Gox. So still good news for them. Going to jump into Reddit questions. There's a question I see on YouTube, and before it runs away from me, I'm going to try and answer it. Non-accredited US investors. So guys, I've said this before. I'm going to try. I can't get more clearer on this, unfortunately, at this time, because we're waiting to get all the legal stuff in line, and it's a continuing process. We're close, but we're not there yet. There is a solution for U.S. non-accredited investors. They will keep their tokens as they have them now in their account. There will be a mechanism by which we're able to do this and stay legal and compliant. That's it. The reason why it hasn't been done yet is because we need to get closer to when the tokens are going to be minted. Period. But there is a solution, and that's it. That's as far as I can go on that answer. I'm going to jump into the Reddit questions, sorry. There's a couple juicy ones in here, so you might want to listen to these. And then we'll get back on YouTube and maybe, if we're lucky, Facebook to grab some live questions. So from Reddit this week, number 1 was, why did it take so long to design a decent GUI? That's a GUI, graphical user interface, for those that don't know the abbreviation. The latest V4 UI is honestly the best, and others look childish, in my opinion. Mini Armin, I would agree. Some of them did look childish. That was the point. Again, and I think I said this already, but I'm going to repeat it because it's worth repeating, and you're kind of asking the question, so I guess I have to repeat it. We had this idea internally, and I think a lot of companies do, that we have smart people here. We have people that are novices, people that are more, let's say, maybe towards the expert side. I don't believe there are any experts yet in crypto. I think that term is ridiculous in an industry that's as young as this one is. But we have people that have experience, people that have no experience. We have newbies, we have senior people. So we thought, well, what we think is good probably will be what the populace thinks is good. And we designed something, and we released it to friends and family, people that had no idea about crypto, and almost nobody liked it. And that told us something very fast, that Either these people are completely wrong, which could be, or it's simply that what we want or what we like might not be what everyone else likes. We have a pool of 20,000 people. We might as well start to use them and figure out what they want. Because if we can get right what they want, at least to a certain percentage, then we'll probably get to a certain percentage what the overall public wants. So we started off with something ugly, childish, like you said. I think childish is the wrong adjective here. I think, but I get your point. And my vocabulary is completely squashed right now because of my jet lag, so I can't even think of the word that it should be. But I agree with you. But it's a process, and that process gets you to the best product. That's it. And as you can see, you like V4. Great, V4. V4 is not going to be the last version. We might get to V12 at some point. We might go live with V6. And then have a V12 by the end of the year or the beginning of next year that we really like. And then there'll probably be a V15 by middle of next year. This is a constantly ongoing process. But as you can see, it works because you didn't like the first few. V4 is honestly the best. Well, V5 is going to be better than 4. And we continue on with that process. Number 2, Johnny Dixon. Any chance of actually updating the roadmap, Kevin? You're killing your own project. The amount of people that are going to dump after distribution is growing day by day. Suck it up and tell the community that what they rightly need to know instead of excuse after excuse. Okay, Johnny, I don't know if you're even listening to this response now. I hope you are. If not, I hope you play it or you read the notes. I'm going to pick this apart piece by piece, right? Because there's a few tidbits in here. So, updating the roadmap, we did. You're killing your own project. It's not a project. And I'll explain the difference between a project and a business to you. I've done it a few times, but I'll do it again. A project is something you and your buddies do in a garage over the weekend. You're going to paint a fence. You're going to put up a basketball hoop. You're going to try to create a soapbox derby car for I don't even think they do those anymore, but anyway, I'm old. For your 5-year-old son so he can compete on Sunday. That's a project. Projects have a limited amount of time. They have a limited focus, and it's a start and an end, and it's over. This is not a project by any shape. That word is the most ridiculous word to apply to a business. Businesses are full of projects. There can be projects inside a business. There can be focused projects inside a business. But this is a business on a whole, a business that is dealing in what will become a highly regulated industry. You can talk to banks. You can talk to any other type of financial. You can talk to Mr. Tango, who was mentioned in one of these stories we talked about. You ask them that if 3 months ago, they had the same exact business case sitting in front of them than they do today. Now, these are established businesses that are ongoing. Ask JP Morgan, ask UBS. Ask them about a year ago what they thought about blockchain, what they were doing to invest in it, and how they were actually using it inside their own infrastructure, and ask them what they're doing today. Ask them at what point that changed, and then ask them for a roadmap from a year ago, see if it's in there. It's not. The point is that these businesses change. They change quite fluidly. Many people think, if a lot of guys like yourself, probably Johnny Dixon, invest or contribute into these ICOs with only one thing in mind, and that's minting, distribution, and a fast sale to make a profit, right? If that's what you're in it for, then I think the amount of opportunities you're going to have once this market matures are zero. That's a big fat zero. Because a mature market doesn't care about its ICO, its IPO, its day one. It does not care. The business at hand is not to care about what your stock is worth today. The business at hand is to make sure your shareholders receive profit and dividends, which is a long-term outlook. You can't have a good short term if you don't look at the long term. So are people going to dump? Sure, they're going to dump. And people like Johnny Dixon, people like other guys that have a short-term focus that are just all upset because we haven't minted the token yet. We were supposed to do it in April or May or June, and we haven't done it yet, and now, this is a failure. I think they need to look in the dictionary for the word failure. Companies that play, businesses that have offices in multiple countries, that have talented staff, that keep communication channels open are nowhere near a failure. The point is that we're trying to make something that not only appeals to you, but is also compliant, regulatory compliant, and that takes a lot of work. I could tell you that on the CISO side, so our information securities, we now have about 35 different documents, probably about 400 pages worth of documentation. On the regulation side, just for the UK entity, we have business case, we have risk analysis. The risk analysis alone in the compliance manual are probably 200 pages. This is a lot of work. This isn't just cookie cutter, cut and paste nonsense. These aren't two 22-year-old guys in their garage trying to launch an ICO to pay for a lot of beer money and a few Lambos and a few conventions and then run off. That's not what we're doing here. We're creating a business. And sometimes when you speculate on where your business is going to be 10 months before you're there, sometimes you're wrong. And I've taken ownership for that many times, and I'll continue to take ownership for that. I've been wrong on a few occasions in my life, and I have no problem admitting it. All right, but when I see comments like this, what I automatically assume is you have no experience in the real world. You do not understand how to run a business. You've never done anything in a regulated space. And really, you're kind of just here to screw everybody else, which means buy and dump. You would have dumped anyway, because if your plan was long-term, then this question wouldn't be asked. It means your plan was short-term. And anybody that buys and sells their stock short-term affect the long-term investors to some point. So that's my answer to that one. On 3 to Bernard. Given the team is spread over various branches, how do you ensure smooth cooperation between members? Do you think it would be better to have gathered in one place? Yes. Yes, Bernard. Having everybody in one place is by far the best way to run a business. 100%. It's just in today's world, it's usually not possible. You can be in one market where maybe in that market, it's a great market for development talent, but no marketers. You can be in a time where there's a lot of good marketing capacity. There's no developers. You can be in a town that while there are good on both sides, the pricing on one side is just prohibitive, and you can't bring on those people, and you have to look elsewhere. The point about creating a global structure means we have global points where we can have oversight. So we have Mexico, we have the Ukraine, we have Estonia, we have the UK. That means if we can find great developers in the Ukraine, well, they're in the Ukraine with Ukraine oversight that we can control. If we can find great designers in Romania, we have control there, we have an office, etc. So smooth communication is difficult. It's difficult. Obviously, we have tools. This 2018, we have Slack, we have Skype. We have all these different communication tools at our disposal. But, sometimes as anybody knows that has a cell phone or tries to reach someone, sometimes that's not enough. So, it's about creating protocols. These things take time, bringing on people that can help do that, help bring out, let's say, make the communications a little more fluid, etc., is something that we're constantly, or that we're in process of doing now. But we've made a lot of strides. So from day one, when communication was tight, that we had people in silos, that people were working and not communicating, we had a lot of those things. It happened through the ICO. It happened again when we went into development on the actual exchange. But every day, every week, every month, it gets better and better and better and better. And we bring on new people. We bring on more people that have more experience working with these type of teams, working with startups that have teams all over the world. And at the end of the day, again, it takes time. These things take time. But when you spend the time, you spend the effort, and you don't get dismayed by, when Lambo questions, at the end of the day, you come out with what is a successful company and a base for a successful company, which is important. Without the base, no matter how talented everyone is, no matter how lucky you get, eventually your business will fall. So that structure is very important. Matt's a boss. Number 1, do you see CoinMetro listing security tokens in the future? Matt. I guess Matt is your name. Matt's a boss. Okay. So Matt, if that's your, hopefully that's your name. Yes. Short answer. Somewhat longer answer. All tokens are securities. If you go through an ICO, you're a security. I don't care what Estonia says. I don't care what Switzerland says. I don't care what anyone says. The reason why those guidelines are out right now is because they haven't yet created or adopted old regulation to fit into tokens. The reason why they haven't done that is because there hasn't been up to this point an asset that can transform itself or chameleonize itself and go from security to not a security to maybe a derivative to perhaps some type of utility asset. These have never existed. So there's nothing that they can adapt 100% from current laws, but I'll tell you this. If Walmart were to create a new paper security and allow you to use it at Walmart to buy things so it had a utility, but take that money to create a secondary venture called, WalmartFoodDelivery.com, that would be a security, 100%. So I think eventually, once we do have regulation around the world, whether it starts in the US, whether it starts in the EU, probably in the US, to be honest, all companies that go through an ICO, if they use the funds to fund a commercial venture, will be classified as securities, meaning every single token you've ever probably dealt with is a security. So to answer that, yes. The secondary answer to that question is, Right now, our main banking partner does not want to list what Estonia classifies as securities. Reason being is there's no specific laws. So we will be limited in jurisdictions based on our bank, not only the regulatory issues, but the banking partners as well. So in each jurisdiction, it'll probably be a bit different until there's one kind of amalgamation of laws. But yes, I think we will list security tokens. Anybody that tells you we're opening a security token broker, I think doesn't understand the market, and it makes me giggle a bit, to be honest. It is on the Ethereum roadmap to implement ZK snarks and zero-knowledge proofs, which would facilitate private transactions on Ethereum. In addition, the Lightning Network for Bitcoin will offer privacy features. How will CM deal with this? Surely CM will not delist. No, unless we were told by a regulator or a banking partner that they did not want us to deal in Bitcoin and Ethereum, which I don't really see is happening, no, we would not delist them. Roadmap to implement means that we need to stay vigilant and understand when, if, and how they will be implemented. Lightning Network has already kind of failed most of its real-world challenges. I think that eventually they'll probably find something that works, but right now they haven't. We've already looked at Lightning. We haven't looked at the new, let's say, zero-knowledge proofs from Ethereum yet. However, again, roadmap and implement, those two words need to come together and actually needs to be implemented and tested. And if it is something that the community decides to use, wants to use, then it's something that we would look to incorporate on our side. Why were we not made aware of the delays till very close to the deadline, number 3? Well, sometimes you don't know there's going to be a delay until very close to the deadline, because it could be that the little project that is inside, let's say, that deadline window was completed. There's a few errors. Those errors were cleaned up. You were still on time. Then when you got close, you found out that there was a larger error at stake, or that it's done, but the architecture of it wasn't done in the best way, shape, or form, and there's a better way to do it. And then sometimes, to be honest, we just honestly think that we're going to hit the deadline. And something happens to make us not hit that deadline. Communication there probably needs to be a bit better, and I think it's gotten better over time, and it will continue to get better. Hopefully, before it becomes the best communication ever, we stop having delays. So obviously, we're working on both sides of that coin, pun intended. But again, we are human, and this is a business, and it's a multifaceted business. We're not. I know that people look at other places that they might be our competitors. And assume, oh, these guys did this, why don't you do it that way? What they don't understand is that the industry surrounding, or the scope surrounding this industry is changing so fast. And that when you look at the regulatory side is so important. You fail on the regulatory side and you will fail at the business. So that's a big piece. That is a huge piece. But again, our goal is to get better at everything we do. I don't think we're the best at anything. I think we're very good at many things. But there's a lot of places that we can make improvement, and feedback that we get, even if it's kind of asshole-ish. That's not a word, but again, jet lag. Sorry about that. And I'm not saying you were, but there's always a few guys in there that you kind of got to bite your lip a bit before you answer. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Feedback is great. That's why we do these things. That's why I do these things. That's why I take an hour out of my day, which might seem like much, but let me tell you. On a Friday afternoon, when you've been busy all week and you have your 7-year-old daughter staring at you from outside your office, it's still an hour out of your day. And this is why we do it, because the feedback's important. Ivolshi, number 5. Kevin, why don't you let contributors that want to exit to sell to the ones that want to buy XCM instead of making a new flash sale? Well, the whole idea for a flash sale would be to increase the amount of capital we have on hand, to have a cushion against future costs. So in that sense, it makes no sense to do that the way you described. Either way, as soon as we mint the token, which would happen directly after the flash sale, those guys could sell to each other anyway. Because I'm pretty sure the guys that want in would probably get in right on the flash sale. Or maybe they wait. I don't know. But I think either way they'd have the opportunity to do that. And the only reason to do a flash, probably the main reason by far, is for capital. Not necessarily because simply more people want to buy. Robin Timmerman, since the ETCF is built upon the ICO Express, will they be integrated into one module? No. On the backside, they're all part of the exchange. The ETCF and to a certain extent the ICO Express, because what's listed there gets listed on the exchange. They all connect to the exchange. One module, no, because the ETCF is really for investing into, let's say, where the ICO Express is contributing. And I know there's some crossovers there for sure, but you do not want to mix those two when you talk about regulation. If they're on the same platform, it means they're the same, and they're not the same by any means when it comes to how the regulator is going to look at those two platforms. Number two from Robin, 85 to 90% of all ICOs are scams, doomed crap. 95 maybe. So even if you manage to pick a few diamonds out of the mountain of garbage and put them on the ICO Express, do you think there's enough diversity to be able to group them into an ETCF? I can't imagine buying into an ETF that consists of 20 legit IoT tokens. Well, remember, the company doesn't need to go through the ICO Express to get into the ETCF. It just needs to be listed with us. So we could list maybe 50, 60, 100 tokens and only do ICO Express with 2 a month. We still have those other tokens that we listed. They just need to be listed. They don't need to go through ICO Express. I would agree with you. If they had to go through ICO Express, you're shooting yourself in the foot. It would be almost an impossibility for that to happen. If an ICO on the Express turns out to be a scam, will there be a possibility to hold CM responsible for it? Or will you waive any liability? No, absolutely no, because we're not saying that when we vet these things that we guarantee them in any way. What we're telling the public is just like Fitch or any rating agency says, is look, we looked at this, and we passed it through our test, and for us, we're giving it this rating. Whether it's a neutral, whether, it wouldn't be neutral buy or sell, obviously, but you get my point. We would apply the rating, but no, there would be absolutely no way for liability to come on us. I think at some point, once underwriting becomes possible, and we can actually probably accrue some type of insurance, then it gets more interesting, because if we can take liability, it probably means that the amount of money being raised and the attraction that these ICOs will have will be much larger. But at first, no, absolutely not. No risk taken on our side for that. Okay, Brut. When we'll be able to test the complete beta platform? Well, right now, I'm going to touch on this a bit more when I do my updates, which is right after the Reddit questions. But generally speaking, we're in process right now for an intermediate version of the exchange. We're in the process for this simplex version. We're going to move on to the trade version here shortly, which will take probably till the end of August to complete. Then we'll have the month of September to basically go through our initial demo processes into like a demo contest, and then towards the end of the month out live. So it depends. It depends on how we stage in access to the beta. But hopefully, I was hoping this week we would get more people into the beta. We didn't do that because we're waiting to get the intermediate version and the other versions completed. But I do think shortly we will start to bring on more people. So maybe you will have access before that. Depends. Do you still expect to launch the platform in Q3? Yes. When will we test the V4? I thought we would get it last weekend. I don't think there was a promised date, though it may have been mentioned on Telegram. I'm not sure. I haven't been there in quite some time. I've been traveling and dealing with things on several fronts, so I actually haven't been in Telegram, so that's my fault there. But V4, I'll wait for the updates. Updates will come out right after these Reddit questions, and I'll touch on that. Number 8, TR Deckerbell. Well, I'm probably butchering that one, but I apologize. Any updates on U.S. investors being able to participate in the beta? I don't think there was ever any restriction on the beta from the U.S. side. We may have not invited any U.S. investors, not sure, to be honest, inside that list. I think there are a few, though, if you want me to be honest. The real question is when we go live, because we never know when things can change as far as regulatory outlook inside the U.S. But as far as I know, you guys are available in now. You might not be in yet, but I don't remember putting any restriction on U.S. people for beta testing. Number 2, you state the exchange will follow the laws in each country. Hypothetical. What happens to tokens that are held by U.S. investors if the laws don't allow them to trade? Will there be cold storage in the account's wallets until laws change? I invested but don't plan to withdraw XCM for a few years anyway. Well, trading and exchanging are 2 different things. So when you bought and exchange, you're under the SEC rules. When you trade, you're under no one's rules right now, but you probably will end up being under the CTFC rule. So trading, if the CTFC were to take over and we didn't have a license from the CTFC, wouldn't be allowed, but exchanging still would. not only that, but if you bought something from us, we have to have the ability to be able to liquidate that for you. So wouldn't be too worried. But yes, we will offer storage. You can store your tokens with us, no problem whatsoever. So that shouldn't be a problem. Okay, now my favorite questions of the day here. Number 9, coming from Despo23. So I'm going to read these first and then have a little bit of fun. So you promised a lot and delivered absolutely nothing yet. You pay third-party community managers who don't know shit to deal with contributors, and the UI mockups I saw did not even get the icons right. There are many who call CoinMetro a scam and consider it a total loss. And I see 2 upvotes on this Reddit AMA and 2 questions who are asked by Amazix employees, a company you pay for pretending to keep this shit alive. And I appreciate your weekly AMA, but nobody cares anymore. This will end in talk. Now the questions. Well, here are my questions. Wasn't it a bit too enthusiastic? And now, that it came out that you were not able to bring up a crypto-based exchange, would it not be a good move to refund everyone who had trust in you? If not, you are in Mexico right now, but there are names and faces, so how do you think to come away with this? Just give me 20 seconds here to giggle about this one, and then I'll answer. So let me go. I'm going to go back to this whole thing. It's not all questions, but I'm going to respond to it anyway. So here we go. So we've delivered absolutely nothing yet. Incorrect. So remember, we created a token sale platform from scratch. We delivered that. It worked. We went through a token sale. We've delivered a Go platform, which is functional. We've delivered UIs, which maybe you didn't like the first iterations, but that's all part of the way we get to one that you eventually will like. We've delivered on our licenses here in Estonia. We've delivered on accounts already for fiat currencies on launch. We've delivered to the fact that we've opened the European Crypto Association, and via that body, we're now actively looking to go after regulators. We already met with the regulators in the Netherlands. I'm meeting with the finance minister here in Estonia on Monday. The point is that there's been a lot of deliveries, maybe not things that are on the roadmap, so to speak, but if you think this business will run based on what's on the roadmap alone, you have another thing coming. What's on the roadmap is topically what this business needs to run, but there's about 1,000 other things that are not topical, that are underneath that roadmap, that if they're not done correctly, that roadmap is worthless. And any roadmap we create would be worthless. So we use third-party community managers who don't know shit. I would say that Amazix, now, I can say that sometimes I'm not the happiest Amazix client, sure. But sometimes I'm pretty happy. I think there's a few guys on there that go above and beyond what they need to do, and they've done an exceptional job working for a company that they're not directly connected to, spending long hours and going over the same questions over and over again and trying to make people understand and keeping patient while doing it. Again, and Amazix is temporary, so at some point Amazix will go. Once we go live, Amazix is not going to be there anymore. They're there now, so we can focus on other things like, doing the things you're complaining about. If we had to focus on all your ridiculous questions on Telegram internally, we wouldn't be halfway to where we are now. So it's important that they're there, and I think they've done a right job. And it says UI mockups where the icons were not right. We chose to put the icons in our own colors because for the most part, these companies are not privately owned, meaning they don't have any actual guidelines on how their logos need to be shown. So we showed them like we wanted to. No big deal. And as far as the upvotes, I don't know. I don't control that. I read this out loud. Everybody knows about it. There's no type of conspiracy where we're upvoting our own posts. So whatever. And I guess you don't care about the AMA. I personally care about it. I think it's a great way for us to communicate with our clients. And if you don't like it, you don't have to be here. I guess that's the main point. But I think it's a great thing to be able to communicate, and it opens a lot of doors, and it gives people the opportunity to ask questions that they can't. I think any other ICO I've ever dealt with or ever seen, I think that's quite unique. So here are the questions. So were we a bit too enthusiastic? No. I think if your vision here is that 6 months means a failure, I don't know. I can't name a business that's successful that didn't take way longer than 6 months to do anything, to be honest. I think the short-sightedness is only really let's say the short-sightedness is directly connected to experience. If you had experience, you wouldn't be so short-sighted. That's not to say that I don't take ownership for some failures and some issues we've had. Sure, we've had issues. And we will have more issues. I can guarantee you that. Every company does, every company will. Some of them don't tell you about it, some of them lie about it, some of them brush them under the rug. I don't like to do that. But at the same time, they're going to happen, for sure, from time to time. But come on, guys. We are closer every day. And once we do launch this thing, let me tell you, we're going to launch something that we've already done so much internal testing on and so much kind of time spent on making sure things are perfect, not a front side, back side. Yeah, we started out with the first UIs were junk. They were supposed to be junk. That's the point. Because when you present something to someone that's clear and polished, they're going to miss things. So look at it and go, this looks pretty good because it looks like Binance, because it looks like whatever. They test it a little bit. They give back nonsense feedback, and that's it. When you present them with something that you know they're probably not going to like, the feedback is immense. And you basically get them telling you exactly what they wanted to see and how disappointed they are that they didn't see this. And that's how you create a better product. So it says we haven't been able to bring up a crypto-based exchange. We're still going through the process of creating one. And it's actually fiat to crypto, so I don't really understand that one. To refund everyone who had trusted you. No. One, because when you made the contribution, you're an adult and you agreed to a contract which basically says there are no refunds, and that this money is going to go to development, which it has. And it all has, most of it going to development, regulatory costs, etc., etc. You say that I'm in Mexico. I'm not in Mexico now, I'm in Estonia. It's funny that you think like Mexico people get away, like, I could just defraud 12 million and run off to Mexico and get away with it. That's kind of funny to me, because I couldn't at all. I'm a U.S. citizen. One, two, I would be found pretty easy. My name is on everything. I don't have a car in somebody else's name. I don't live in somebody else's house. I don't have burner phones and throw them in the trash as I'm running down the street to go into one of my drop houses, So yeah. You signed a legal contract. If you want me to get real, put my legal hat on, and legal hat would tell you this. You as an adult over the age of 18 years old gave your consent to sign it, and gave your consent by signing a contract which basically says that you contributed, which in other words means almost donated, these funds to CoinMetro in order to go through a development process to release a product. And that we may never release a product, actually, is what that contract says. And that's what any good contract should say, because you never know. We could all get hit by lightning and all die. I don't know. The point is that, no, it would make no sense to refund everybody now. One, because you'd get refunded much less than what you invested for nothing, and we'd have to stop. I don't know how everyone correlates a 6-month delay to failure when there's so much other things going on, just because there's not a new GUI on a Tuesday. I get it, guys. I was 20 once too. I was 22 once too. I was 23 once too. I invested, the money I was going to use to buy a new car or something and stuff before, and stuff didn't work out I was supposed to, and I wanted to blame everybody else in the world. I'm going to give you a little bit of an adult conversation right now, Despo. One, blame yourself. You signed consent. You put your money into something that you didn't fully vet or look into. You didn't ask the right questions, and now you're blaming someone else. Blame yourself. And I hate to put it to you that way, but seriously, my friend. When I look at your questions, what I see is insecurity, inexperience, and I see somebody that truly doesn't understand what they invested in, that believes that somehow a market that had 4, 5, 10, 15,000 ROIs over a few weeks for products that were never actually materialized based on securities that were made out of thin air would somehow continue, and that will never continue. Mature markets, that doesn't happen in mature markets. What you're seeing with us is probably one of the first mature ICOs you've ever seen. And that's because we're taking our time. We're not minting just for the sake of minting so we can get some good press. We're not distributing just so that you can be happy. We're waiting for the right time to do everything so that it benefits the whole and not just you. Kesmet, will CoinMetro include support for voice assistant technology such as Siri, Google Assistant, and Amazon Echo? Great, I would love to. I've thought about it in my head. It's not on our roadmap, wink, wink, yet. However, I do think that's pretty cool, and I think it's something that we would definitely look into. All kinds of, niche technologies are cool. We're in a niche space, so niche technologies like voice commands, like virtual reality. I think we're going to try to test all those type of things. But first, we need a platform to be able to test it on, right? So that's where our main focus is now. But yeah, I do think we will, and I think it's interesting for sure. Okay, so I think these are our last questions. So Julius, there's about 8 questions here, guys. I'm going to leave some extra time, so don't worry about the hour, so that... sorry, just read YouTube for a second. I'm going to leave some time, so I'm not going to limit this to an hour, guys. But let me get through these 8 questions because some of them are pretty good, and I think a lot of you guys will probably have similar questions. And he sent these to me on Telegram. He also submitted them on Reddit, but I just want to make sure we get through them. So Julius, let's say for discussion purposes, I'm among the niche you are targeting, and my goal is to become a 6-figure trader, but I'm broke. AF. I think I know what that means. As something, but I'm not going to repeat it. What's your advice for me? To my knowledge, to be a good trader, one must first and foremost deal with portfolio and risk management. Why is that so important? Could you elaborate more on that point? Again, look at me as a newbie trader who wants to learn and grow into a good trader with you guys. Okay, so yeah, I think first, your long-term goal could become a 6-7-figure, whatever trader, and that's great. That cannot be your short-term goal. You know, in order to become, it's like if you're going to college to become a brain surgeon, your first goal isn't I want to operate on my father's brain and make the guy smarter. That's not your first goal. Your first goal is I want to pass this class to understand what the hell I'm supposed to, what is brain surgery and what exactly, you have to go in baby steps at some point until you can get to that long-term goal. So you're right when you say that risk management is number one, but part of risk management that you really need to understand as a trader, which is probably the most important aspect to any trader, is being able to control your emotions. Because I can give you a risk management plan. Never risk more than 0.25% on a trade. Always make sure that your take profit levels are 2 to 3 times more than your stop loss levels. Never close a trade early. Follow your plan. Follow the plan and stick to the plan. Blah 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 blah. I can give you all those things, and you'll still fail. And the reason you'll fail is that you'll have 5 losses in a row, and the first time you have one trade that goes into profit, even though it doesn't hit your take profit level, you get out, you're happy, you throw a party, you withdraw the money, you buy some beers and some pizza, you're awesome now, you're back on track, and then you lose 5 times a row and again. So controlling your emotions, unfortunately, sometimes isn't something you can teach. Some people just can't control their emotions, period. Doesn't matter how much you try to help them, doesn't matter what you tell them, they will never be able to do it. So that's the first hurdle. If you're able to sit on your hands and let your plan flow itself out, even if you lose 20 times in a row, then you can become a good trader. At that point, literally, you can blindfold yourself, throw a dart at one wall with different cryptocurrencies, throw a dart at another one that says buy or sell, and do that every day. And I guarantee you, at the end of a year, you will probably make more money or be more positive than the guy who thinks he knows what he's doing, looking at bullish candlestick patterns, Fibonacci retracement levels, Gann, whatever study that you want to look at, because you made a plan and you stuck to it. And at the end of the day, chaos theory makes a lot more sense in markets than almost anything else. It is chaos. The reason why us as humans, we try to find patterns in chaos. And if you try to find a pattern, you will find it. If I tell you a number right now, 147, and I say that number is going to appear, you're going to start to see it everywhere in your daily life, and you're going, nah. I guarantee you're going to see it. Because you'll go out and you'll be driving, and subconsciously when you pass the 1147 or 147 or 1478, whatever, number on the road, you'll look at it. And then you'll start looking at phone numbers and you'll notice 147. You'll start to see, and it's not because those things exist for a reason or there's some linkage. It's because it's now in your subconscious, right? So those type of studies only mean that the sheep follow those studies, the herd follows the studies. Real traders don't follow those studies for the most part. They study them to look to see where liquidity may be sitting. But other than that, that's it. Point is that it's so for us, I think it's about one, understanding if you can sit on your hands and follow a plan. Once you can do that, it's about giving you very simple things to follow, knowing where to look for liquidity, knowing how to look for support and resistance, knowing how to read a chart without actually putting a million lines on it, just looking at it. Once you can read a naked chart, have an idea where that support and resistance might be, and you're able to control your emotions, you're off to the races. Number 2, I thought CM wanted to be the best exchange out there. Are you still of that opinion? If so, how do you match that with the face of adopting a niche business-based strategy? Was this change of course caused by the market unprecedented turnaround. I wouldn't really call this a turnaround. I would say this is a duh moment. This was going to happen at some point. It happened a little faster than I thought it would have. But mature markets, don't go up and up and up and up and up without any type of retracement or without any type of real liquidity behind them. So being the best doesn't necessarily mean being the biggest. I would say there's a lot of companies out there that are better than their competitors, but they're smaller. Smaller, let's say, in revenue, but better in all ways, shape, or form elsewise. So I think, our goal is always going to be the best to support, the best platform, the best whatever. If that takes us to have the most revenue, so be it. If it doesn't, so be it. It's just about, the goal of being the best hasn't changed. Do you think we're ever going to see huge spikes we witnessed in crypto when, after regulation arrives? No, I do not. Fundamentally speaking, we will see big jumps and big falls based on fundamentals at some point once we get a more mature marketplace with more liquidity and more people actually trading back and forth, especially on the institutional side. The idea that bringing in institutional money right now will cause spikes in price, I think, is bullshit. It doesn't make any sense. If you talk to anybody that really knows about institutional liquidity that has been around any type of, let's say, similar type of asset, they'll tell you the same thing. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense because we're creating synthetic products for those guys. And those synthetic products don't 100% correlate to actual liquidity on the open market. So I don't think because regulation arrives, mom and pop are going to be like, well, we bought Bitcoin at 18,000 last time and lost our house. But you know what? Now it's regulated, so I'm going to buy more. So that first wave we've missed. There's a lot of people that never bought into crypto, but I think those people are now going to be more cautious. And those people are generally probably going to look at more standardized ways to buy crypto at first, which are going to be futures, derivatives, their bank offering them as some type of mutual fund that has crypto in it. And that generally doesn't tie into the underlying crypto value, or at least not initially. So again, I don't see it affecting price on a positive note too much. The fundamentals behind saying that they're going, like Bank of America now to offer crypto to its clients, is a great fundamental release. Probably gives you a few percent on that day on the market, but that's it. Number 4, you're pro-regulation and you're also pro-wild kids for some reason. Idiotic and hyped in my dictionary. Okay, I don't know what pro-wild kids means, but let's see, for some reason. We both surely know as of now that the two things do not coexist. Just look at how and what our TG group chat is turning into now, and what do you think to deal with that? I'm not sure what you mean by wild kids. The only thing I can think of is maybe, I don't know, the community in general. But I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I am pro-innovation. Sometimes innovation comes from an immature standpoint. I think markets, though, at the end of the day, kind of filter themselves out, regardless of regulation or not. But yeah, I'm sorry, I can't really answer this one in depth because I'm not quite sure what you mean. Maybe on the next week. Could you, number 5, or the people involved, please give deeper info how CM token economics is supposed to work apart from the vesting mechanism, and is the term stability referring to the business itself or to XCM? For my understanding is that XCM's business model could be doing great even if the token price isn't growing. Okay, I'm sorry, I was just looking at YouTube. I got somebody talking about Bollinger Bands. Oh, Bollinger Darts. Okay, sorry. So CM token economics. So I'll give you the quick overview, right? So when you open a trade on our platform, then this won't happen in the beginning in the demo. Obviously, once we go live, it will be in place. When you open a trade, let's say you open BTC USD. That means that your commission is charged in USD because that's the rate at which you're actually buying the base. It's the base, right? It's base USD. So when you buy, your commission is based on USD. We immediately take that USD, send another trade out to the market, and buy XCM for that same amount of USD, and that's how we get paid with XCM. We also burn a percentage of that XCM we received on that trade. We also have a buyback program where we take a certain amount of our net profits, we put them into an account, and when we see fit, based on pricing, based on supply and demand, we will buy XCM from the market using those funds. That's the most basic understanding of how it works. So yeah, CM could be doing great, and the token price could not rise. That's true. The token price can also rise without CM actually doing, let's say, a huge amount of revenue. You can look at Binance. Their rise and fall. They're making more revenue now than they did when their token was higher. Again, right now, most tokens are based on hype. They're not correlated yet to how the company is operating or fundamentals in any way, shape, or form. They will be eventually, but it's going to take time for the market to get to that point. Number 6, do you have in place an employee of the month structure for your supporting staff? Else do you plan to do? What criteria would you follow? Actually, all the bonus structure and everything like that is currently an HR project, so no, we don't have it initially. We kind of we celebrate different things within the company, completion of projects, and what you guys see on the roadmap is obviously not the projects we have internally. We have multiple projects for each of those roadmaps, multiple, sometimes dozens, and as those get completed. So we probably will at some point, and it's a good thing to bring up with HR, which I will. From the outside perspective, I'm still not sold on why I should abandon real-life working solutions for some hyped projects with actually no practical real use. Most of these projects seem like a cash grab to me. I'm not sure, maybe this was paraphrased, this question. I think you're talking about ICOs in general, and I would agree with you. Right now, people are just taking a problem, creating a solution on paper, writing a white paper, getting money, and then not doing anything. Blockchain has specific use cases, and it's almost a perfect solution for a lot of those use cases, and it is not a solution for a lot of those use cases. People are taking advantage of the fact that most people don't understand blockchain. So when they go, we're going to put Legos on the blockchain, people are like, yeah, I like Legos. I heard of this blockchain thing. Yeah, I'm going to buy some tokens for Legos on the blockchain. That's going to stop at some point, especially once regulation comes into play. So I would agree with you. Most are hyped projects with absolutely no practical use. And even if there is a practical use, the practical use with blockchain is no better than or worse than the current actual practical uses that exist in that industry now. Or it may be better on paper, but it will be impractical to actually implement now or even in the next 10, 20 years. So I agree with you 100%. But there are some very, very, very good use cases for blockchain technology. The problem is that most of those haven't really been touched yet by the ICO space because, well, they're not going to be that hype. They're not going to be that hypeable, which means they're not going to probably get that much money. So these guys that are only doing ICOs to mint tokens, dump, and run off with a bunch of cash aren't really interested in doing them. That'll change too once bigger companies start to come out and actually launch their own ICOs or some other hybrid type of tokenization project or tokenization, let's say tokenization methodology to actually bring on capital into a business. Number 8, these may be a little personal, so feel free not to answer. Have you ever thought about going bald? Sure, I thought about it. When my father went bald when I was younger. He's going to hate me for saying this publicly, but I went with him when he purchased his fix, and it was a funny experience for me. It was actually funny for him too. And I told him then that I would never do it. And now that I am pretty much almost bald, I'm fighting, but a little bit almost bald. I still don't want to do it, but I always think like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But no, to be honest, I'm not a big vanity guy. It doesn't bother me too much. I joke about it a lot because I know people notice it, so it's easy to joke about. But yeah, that doesn't really bother me, to be honest. Do you consider yourself a good dad? And if so, how do you manage that in conjunction with CoinMetro FX Pig Management? I don't know what a good dad is. I don't think anybody's ever prepared, no matter how many kids you have. There's no manual that tells you how to be a father, a good father, or I guess everybody can assume how to be a bad one, right? I try to spend as much time with my daughters as I can. I try to instill as much advice, some of it probably was wrong advice, as I can. I guess, I think they've turned out pretty good. So I guess I wouldn't consider myself a bad dad. I don't really know how to define good, but I try to be a good dad. I try to do what I can to keep everything even and stable, and so that they don't, go too far off to one side in life and kind of experience as much as they possibly can while they're under my roof. And yeah, it's difficult when you run a business or two businesses or whatever. For me, business comes first. It's a bad thing to say, but that's how my brain works. But that doesn't mean that I still try to make time, and when I do have time, I try to make it worthwhile. But it's difficult. It's not easy, and then just like in other things in life, you fail at things and you do things wrong, and sometimes you only realize till you've done them already, and you just try to correct it. Apologies go a long way sometimes. So sometimes you got to say I'm sorry, and that's it. Anyway, thanks for the question, guys. I'm gonna roll on to order a fake man bun. There you go, Pedro. I would order a man bun, but the problem is that I'd still be bald up here, so it'd probably look even more ridiculous. I was thinking about the Donald Trump haircut, but yeah, if people don't like me now, oh well, that probably would put it over the top, So I might get assassination attempts at that point. So I've decided not to go that route. Wig. I was gonna say at first I was thinking hairpiece, and then I was gonna say toupee, and then I was gonna say rug, carpet. But yeah, wig. I think that's the general vernacular. It's a wig. Okay, so I'm jumping onto YouTube here, guys. Let me see. I'm gonna see how many of these. I know there was some questions. I think there was some questions posted while I was kind of going through this stuff here. I'm trying to see if I can scroll. Yeah, I can scroll on YouTube. Look at this, YouTube, huh? All right, so I'm scrolling back to the back first to see if there's anything here. Update on non-accredited U.S. investors by Eric Marquez. I gave you an update. If you didn't hear it, go ahead and post it again, and I'll say it again. Kevin Stanley, same thing. Adam, we are looking at listing our new to-be-created token after our ICO. Can you give any information with the potential of listing on your exchange? Sure, Adam. Adam, if you can email me at kevin@coinmetro.com, I will send you our listing guideline, which will tell you everything that we will require from you. Evan came through with the 15th for V4 as the target date, so cool on that. That's actually HTML and functioning. Binance made their first acquisition a few days ago. Have you heard about it? What do you think of it? I think I did hear about it, but they must have heard me, right? Maybe they should cut me off a piece of that acquisition. I don't know exactly what it was, though. I don't remember. So if you can feed it in, I'll make you a comment. Bitter much from Pedro? I don't know if that was to me. Sorry if I came off as bitter. When can I buy tokens? I'm a U.S. resident and made a CM account. The source is not important. So we may have another flash sale at some point. Just make sure you're on our CoinMetro, on our updates page on Telegram. That's CoinMetro Updates. It's a channel. It'll be released there when and if it's going to happen. Also, you can follow us on any of our social media accounts. If you're an accredited investor, it makes it easy. If you're not, there may or may not be a solution for you, but you have to stay tuned to find out. Jesse, Fibonacci is a thing. Well, Fibonacci is definitely a thing. It's exactly what I told you. If you give someone levels, they will find them. And then when other people find them and use them, they actually do become a thing. But they're not a thing because they were a thing. They're a thing because people make them a thing. Michael, holy crap, that is the best crypto trading strategy, given I could easily beat the 20 losses in a row. Bollinger darts. I don't know if that was a joke or kind of saying that my information was nonsense. I don't know. Is Q3 day for demo trading or live trading? Q3 is live trading. It would be probably the closed live, not the full live version, but it will be live trading. Oily Ali M, sorry, will there be another flash sale? Still not a decision made on that, but perhaps. Once we get within a few weeks of minting, we will make the final decision, and obviously we'll let you guys know. Okay, that wasn't to me. Okay, that's good to know. Binance bought Trust Wallet. Okay. So yeah, good acquisition for them. They could use some more trusted wallet technology. I'm not really familiar with Trust Wallet, but by the name alone, I guess I kind of know what they do. I would say good on them. They should be doing a lot more of that. I would hope they're looking to acquire some regulated entities, because as of yet they have made zero strides on regulation. Malta is a waste of time, at least right now. So hopefully they're looking at that as well. If they're listening, Binance, go out and buy a regulated entity, a custodian, or possibly a custodial service, someone with a CTFC or MTF license in the UK, and probably an EMI license. Do it now. Do it now. So let's see if they hear that. David, hey Kevin, it would have been cool if you had a total amount of XCM counter on your website that constantly decreases from the fee burns. Would be very cool to follow that live. Well, on our transparency page, we have a counter, and that's a great place to put that. And we did think about stuff like that. So yeah, I think we will be able to follow live. That transparency page is going to morph big time once we start going live. It's going to show the amount of orders, the amount of filled orders, the amount of unfilled orders, the amount of liquidity, the amount of tokens that are in existence. It's going to get very, very more in-depth than it is now. Now we don't have much to be transparent about in numbers, right? But that's going to change. And that was the whole idea behind that page, to be honest. Michael, your DART strategy. Yeah, look, I've said that strategy before. I've actually put that in a test at some point while I was managing funds. I did training as well, and we did it. I think it was about a 2-week test. And the guy doing the darts versus a panel of newbies, 5 guys who had a written strategy that I myself was trading that was profitable. The guy with the darts beat him. Harold Wild, as FX Pig is using spotware products, C Exchange. You mean C Trader is going crypto. We'll see him use it. If not, then why not? We may. The problem, well, C Trader. The one thing I like about Spotware, I think some of their systems are quite well made. They're easy to manage. 2, though, they control everything on their side, which means when you need to add in different fixed connections, when you need to adjust things, they do it. I don't like that. That might be one reason. Yeah. C Exchange. You're right. I'm just equating it to C Trader for those who might not know. Yeah, I got the memo, so I definitely read about it. We may. The goal was, or the plan was, that FX Pig and CoinMetro would eventually merge, probably, meaning that MT4, MT5, C Trader, all these things would be available on the crypto with exchange liquidity, not with CFD liquidity. I don't expect. Look, right now, crypto traders who think they're traders trade just in crypto. But real traders want multi-asset. They want to be able to trade in FX. They want to be trading commodities. They want to be trade derivatives. They want to be able to trade everything, which means eventually, once this market matures a bit more, they're not going to want to just trade crypto. They want to trade other things, which means we're going to need a platform that allows them to do that. And then the other platform just remains for those who just want to trade crypto or maybe just like the platform, etc. So yes, I do think over time we will offer that. Right away, probably not. 1, because I'd rather wait to the 3rd or 4th or 5th iteration, because the first iteration is going to have issues. I guarantee it. I don't know if we'd readily be able to add in our own liquidity, because that really wasn't answered yet as far as C Trader is concerned. But yeah, I do think eventually, it's always kind of been the plan to merge the 2 companies for a multi-asset platform. So unfortunately, we weren't able to get Facebook back up. Let me run real quick because I totally missed it. Just a quick review on the dev side. I have some notes here. Give me a second, guys. I usually don't take notes, but I'm telling you, the jet lag was quite immense. Okay. So we have the simple UI under construction, working version available to beta testers. That's being done. Intermediate UI is in the HTML phase. And once that phase is finished, it'll be coded for beta testers. 7 to 8 working days. That's the 15th that Evan mentioned in the chat. Trade UI is still in design phase. We're working to allow expert and pro traders to have the best trading experience possible. I saw some mock-ups of it, some early mock-ups of it today. We're not there yet. We're getting there. A few updates were released on Go Dashboard UI with the login page, contests, a dedicated page for contests, etc. Those are being worked on as well. We have the winners of the 100 XCM contest for the T-shirts and the 100 XCM, which were part of the surveys. People that answered the surveys got put into a raffle. I think they probably were already alerted that they won. So congratulations to everyone who won, and thanks for everybody who supported us and helped us out. We're probably going to do more. We're definitely going to do more of those surveys. So stay tuned. Then new support staff will be added. Will be added in the Ukraine. They were actually here the last couple of days getting classes from Carlo and Ilya, our 2 support guys here in Talon. We had 9 people. We have 9 people right now. They left. I'm going to go have dinner with them and go over some of their quiz answers in the next hour. So that'll be cool. I'll report on that next week. But a great group of guys and girls. I saw some of their quiz answers already. Pretty solid. Our guys did a great job. Hats off to Carlo and Ilya for the great job they did and Billy as well on going through the training. They really spent a lot of time putting together a great training process, and I think they all shined this week. So hats off to them on that. Okay, guys, back to any news regarding DTC protocol? No. Short answer. Yeah, there were some pictures, Carlos, and Carlos is an Amazix guy, by the way. So if anybody has a conspiracy theory, like everybody that comes onto this chat is from Amazix. 100% that transparency. Carlos is from Amazix. But yeah, we did take some pictures. I guarantee you they'll probably show up on Instagram at some point. So guys, any other questions? We're coming up on about an hour and a half. I guess, well, more like an hour and 10 minutes, but tinfoil hat, good, check. It's always good to have your tinfoil hat on. So I'll just hang out and see if there's another question or two that might roll in. Sorry if, can I get paid by Amazix? Since I am Amazix. I don't know, dude. I don't run the payroll at Amazix, but you can give it a shot. That's for sure. Pedro, what's the cloak surrounding the flash sale? What's stopping you from just saying yes or no? To be honest, Pedro, I really don't know if we're going to do it. So could we use extra funding? Any company could use extra funding. I only want to do it when I'm 100% sure we have a concrete date from when we're minting, and I'm 100% positive on that date, and that date is released, then we do it. But there's also a legal caveat. The first flash sales were done in Hong Kong. This would probably be done in Estonia, which would mean we'd have to draft a new terms of agreement. We'd have to make some changes. That's going to take a bit of time. We have to understand whether if we do this in Estonia, if we're liable for any additional tax or anything else. And that's kind of being looked at into right now. So we don't want to give a go or a yes if we're not going to do it. We're in talks with the finance minister. We're trying to get in talks with the prime minister. We're, locally. What we don't want to do is step on our own toes. So right now, it's a maybe. We don't have a definitive yes or no. We're leaning towards yes, but we need to make sure that we do things correctly and compliantly. So until we're aware of that 100%, and until we absolutely know we have a set date, we won't release, let's say, a full answer. That's why. So it's a risk aversion, I guess, is the best way to describe that. Ali M thanking Evan. Yeah, thanks from me to you, Evan. I know we talk outside of this, but I want to do this publicly because, man, and people who don't know, Evan is one of our majority shareholders. So he was supposed to be a passive investor. He's not passive at all. He's given an extreme amount of feedback, especially on those beta and the UI and jumping into Telegram. Hats off to him. I appreciate it 100%. He's done a great job. I think he has a gift, and I think he's putting it to good use. He's a full-time pilot, by the way. So, sometimes he shows up at 2 a.m. after flying for hours and still jumps on Telegram. So thank you, Evan. Great job. Keep up the good work, man. And by the way, he does this for no pay, right? So he doesn't have a salary or anything. Anyway, double hats off to Evan. I appreciate it, man. Thanks very much. Okay, Adam, thanks a lot. Hit me up on LinkedIn, and I'll get back to you. By majority, Matt is asking, by majority shareholders, do you mean Evan has more equity than you? No, we're pretty much on the same level, actually. So we both invest, we both put our own money in to get this thing off the ground. And because of that, well, we both had the same amount of shares. Actually, at one point, Evan had more than me. At one point, I had more than Evan, but we kind of had a verbal gentleman's agreement that we would make sure that we were on an even keel. I've respected it, and so has he. Thanks, Evan. Wow, you're here listening to me even on this thing. Oh man, I mean, you listen to me in private, now you listen to me in public. That's a third hat off now. Now I've taken 3 hats off. That's pretty amazing. Okay, guys. So it's 6:30 here. I got a few things I need to do before I head out to dinner with the guys from the Ukraine. I'll make sure we take some pictures so you can watch us eating. Anyway, guys, as always, appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate the patience. Appreciate you guys listening to me vent about some of the comments we get sometimes. I appreciate the feedback, negative or positive. Please put it in on Reddit. Make sure you put it in. I want to see it. I want to read it. I want to respond to it. It only makes us better. It only makes us stronger. It only makes us get closer to our goal. We're going to get there. I'm positive we will. We're going to hit some more speed bumps along the way. I'm positive we will. But that's the only way you can get to have a mature product is by hitting speed bumps, falling on your face, and getting back up. And we've fallen on our face a few times, I think, but we keep getting back up. And we will continue to keep getting back up until we get and meet our goal, which is creating the best exchange platform that exists online, a regulated one that's fully compliant in multiple jurisdictions. Again, not the easiest thing to do. Anyway, guys. The simpletons. Well, I'm not going to get in name calling here on a Friday. So have a great weekend, guys. Spend some time with your family, friends, whatever. Make sure you never know when you won't have that time, or those people won't be available to you. So make sure you get that time in. Talk to you guys next Friday. I will try to get on Telegram if I can. I think there's a lot of messages there waiting for me. And see you guys next week. Hopefully back on Facebook. Cheers.